The night felt endless. Deho sat in the communications room, watching the upload progress bar crawl across the screen. Every percentage point meant the truth was spreading further across human space. There was no stopping it now. Bomi sat beside him, double-checking the data packets. The linguistic analysis, the village recordings, the burial site documentation. It's all going out. By morning, every human colony will know about the Velrathi. Good, Deho said, though his stomach was tight with worry. That's good. Taesung paced behind them, his face worried. Director Park is going to lose his mind. The whole corporation will. Do you have any idea what you've just done? Saved lives, Commander Lee said from the doorway. She looked tired but determined. We've saved lives. That's what matters. She walked over to the window that looked out at the forest. In the distance, lights flickered between the trees. More Velrathi had gathered. Dozens of them now, maybe hundreds. Their bioluminescent patterns created a river of light in the darkness. They know something is happening, Bomi observed. Look how they're gathering. That's not random. They're organized. Jinwoo entered the room, his security team behind him. Commander, we have a problem. The corporate security team just sent an advance message. They're not waiting the full 48 hours. They'll be here in 6 hours. Commander Lee turned pale. 6 hours? That's not enough time for the Interstellar Council to respond to our transmission. That's exactly why they moved up the timeline, Jinwoo said. They want to eliminate the evidence before anyone official can intervene. How many are coming? Deho asked. 20 operatives. Military-grade weapons. Authorization to use lethal force. Jinwoo looked grim. They're not here to talk. They're here to kill every Velrathi they can find and destroy our research. The room went silent. Outside, the lights in the forest pulsed and flickered. Hundreds of intelligent beings, families with children, going about their lives. They had no idea what was coming. We have to warn them, Deho said, standing up. We need to tell the Velrathi to run, to hide. And if they don't? Taesung asked. What if they decide to fight instead? This could turn into a massacre on both sides. We have to try, Bomi insisted. We can't just let this happen. Commander Lee was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Finally, she spoke. Jinwoo, how many of your security team would follow my orders over the corporations? Jinwoo looked at his people. They exchanged glances. Then he said, all of us, Commander. We signed up to protect people, not murder them. Good, Commander Lee said. Then here's what we're going to do. The next hour was chaos. Commander Lee divided the outpost into 2 groups, those who wanted to help the Velrathi, and those who didn't want to get involved. Surprisingly, 32 out of 43 colonists chose to help. Even Taesung, despite his fear, joined Deho's side. I'm terrified, Taesung admitted. But you were right. Some things are more important than being safe. They gathered supplies, medical equipment, food, recording devices. Commander Lee opened the armory and distributed non-lethal weapons to her security team. If the corporate team tries to harm the Velrathi, we stop them. But we don't kill unless there's absolutely no other choice. Understood? Everyone nodded. Deho, Bomi, and a small team headed back to the forest. The mother Velrathi was waiting at the tree line with the cub. When she saw them, her patterns shifted to what the AI now translated as a greeting. We need to talk, Deho said, knowing she wouldn't understand the words, but hoping his tone conveyed urgency. Danger is coming. Bad humans. They want to hurt you. He pulled up his tablet and showed her images. Armed soldiers. Weapons. He made gestures of violence, trying to communicate the threat. The mother watched carefully. Then she made a sound and more Velrathi emerged from the forest. One of them was even larger than the mother, with crystal ridges that seemed ancient and wise. Its patterns were complex, layered with meanings Deho couldn't begin to understand. Bomi's AI identified this one as using more sophisticated language patterns. I think this is their leader, like a chief or elder. The elder Velrathi studied Deho and the other humans. Its 4 eyes seemed to look right through them. Then it made a series of sounds and light patterns. The AI struggled with the translation but eventually provided, "We knew this day would come. We have prepared." "Prepared," Bomi whispered. "Prepared how?" The elder gestured with its massive head toward the forest. The mother and cub led the humans deeper into the woods, past the village Deho and Bomi had seen before. They walked for nearly 30 minutes until they reached a massive cliff face. Cut into the cliff were entrances, dozens of them, and near each entrance stood groups of Velrathi, Hundreds of them, maybe thousands. They weren't running or hiding. They were standing ready, organized into clear groups. They're not fleeing, Taesung said, his voice shaking. They're preparing to defend themselves. The elder made more patterns. The translation came through. We are peaceful. But we are not helpless. We will protect our children. Daeho felt his heart sink. If it came to a fight, even with thousands of Velrathi, the corporate security team had weapons designed to kill. It would be a bloodbath, and once blood was spilled, there would be no peace. There has to be another way, Daeho said desperately. The elder looked at him. Its pattern shifted to something new. Show us the better way. And suddenly Daeho understood. The Velrathi weren't asking to be saved. They were asking humans to prove they were worth trusting. They were giving humanity one more chance. They returned to the outpost just as the corporate security transport was landing. It was a sleek black ship designed for quick operations, the kind of ship that arrived quietly and left no witnesses. 20 operatives emerged, all armed, all wearing tactical gear. Their leader was a woman named Captain Song Mi-young. She was cold and professional, and she had orders signed by Director Park himself. Commander Lee met her at the landing pad. Captain Song, I'm Commander Lee. I need to speak with you about the situation here. There's nothing to discuss, Commander, Captain Song said. We have our orders. All xenobiological specimens are to be terminated. All research data is to be confiscated and destroyed. Your cooperation is appreciated but not required. Those xenobiological specimens are intelligent beings, Commander Lee said firmly. Sapient creatures with language, culture, and civilization. Killing them would be genocide. Captain Song's expression didn't change. Those are very serious accusations, Commander. Do you have proof? Hours of it, Bomi said, stepping forward. Linguistic analysis, cultural documentation, recorded communication. It's all been transmitted to the Interstellar Council. For the first time, Captain Song's professional mask cracked slightly. You transmitted classified corporate data off-world without authorization? We transmitted evidence of intelligent alien life, Daeho said, which legally we're required to do under the Sapient Rights Act of 2289. Captain Song was silent for a moment. Then she smiled, and it was not a kind smile. The Interstellar Council is 6 months away by fastest ship. A lot can happen in 6 months. My orders stand. She turned to her team. Prepare to move out. Target the alien settlement. Use maximum efficiency. I can't let you do that, Commander Lee said. Captain Song looked at her with cold eyes. You don't have a choice, Commander. We have superior numbers and authorization from corporate headquarters. If you interfere, you'll be charged with treason against the company. Then charge me, Commander Lee said. Jin Woo and the security team stepped forward, standing with their commander. Then one by one, the colonists emerged from the buildings. 32 people, unarmed but determined, creating a human wall between the corporate team and the forest. You'll have to go through us first, Daeho said. Captain Song looked at the crowd with disgust. You're all fools. You're throwing away your careers, your futures for aliens who would tear you apart without a second thought. No, Taesung said, his voice shaking but strong. We're choosing to be better than our worst instincts. That's what makes us human. The tension was unbearable. Captain Song's hand moved to her weapon. The corporate operatives raised their guns. The colonists stood their ground, unarmed and vulnerable. Then something extraordinary happened. From the forest emerged the Velrathi. Not attacking, not threatening. They simply walked out of the trees and stood beside the humans. The mother and her cub took positions next to Daeho. The elder stood beside Commander Lee. Hundreds of Velrathi, standing peacefully with the colonists. Their light patterns all pulsed in unison, creating a message so clear that even without translation, everyone understood it. We stand together. Captain Song stared at the sight. Her operatives looked uncertain. This wasn't what they'd been prepared for. They'd expected to hunt animals, not to face a united front of humans and aliens standing side by side. This is insane, Captain Song said quietly. No, Bomi replied. This is first contact. Real first contact. And you have a choice, Captain. You can be the person who committed genocide, or you can be part of history, the good kind. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Captain Song lowered her weapon. Stand down, she told her team. We're not doing this. Her second in command looked shocked. Captain, our orders. I said stand down. Captain Song's voice was sharp. I don't care what Director Park wants. The mother made a sound, deep and resonant. Then her patterns changed, showing something. The cub's nose was cool against Daeho's hand. Its 4 golden eyes looked up at him with clear recognition. The bandage Daeho had put on its leg was gone now, but he could see the wound had healed cleanly. The little creature made that same musical trill it had made 3 days ago. Behind the cub, the mother Velrathi remained perfectly still. Her massive body could strike in an instant, but she didn't move. She just watched, her light patterns pulsing in steady, calm rhythms. Daeho slowly knelt down, making himself smaller and less threatening. He unwrapped one of the protein bars and offered it to the cub. The little one took it gently, more carefully than last time, and ate while staying close to Daeho. Bomi, Daeho said quietly, not taking his eyes off the mother. Are you recording all of this? Every second, Bomi's voice came from behind him. The light patterns are incredible. The AI is processing them now. The mother Velrathi made a low rumbling sound. It wasn't aggressive. It sounded almost like she was talking. Her light patterns changed, becoming more complex. Waves of blue and gold flowed across her body in sequences that clearly meant something. Daeho wished desperately that he could understand. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his tablet. On the screen was the analysis program Bomi had set up. He held it where the cameras could see it, hoping the AI would help. The cub finished the protein bar and made a chirping sound. It looked at its mother, then back at Daeho. Its own patterns started pulsing. Different from the mother's, but just as deliberate. Were they talking about him? Daeho, Bomi called out, excitement in her voice. The AI just flagged something. When the mother's patterns show that specific blue sequence, the cub responds. It looks like a call and response, like she's teaching it. Teaching. The word made Daeho's breath catch. The mother wasn't just communicating. She was showing her child how to communicate with humans. This was education, culture, things that only truly intelligent beings did. Daeho offered the second protein bar to the mother herself. She looked at it, then at him. For a long moment, nothing happened. Daeho could hear his own heartbeat. Then the mother slowly lowered her head and took the protein bar from his hand with surprising gentleness. She ate it in one bite, barely chewing. When she finished, her patterns changed to that sequence again. Gratitude. You're welcome, Daeho whispered. Over the next 40 minutes, something remarkable happened. The mother and cub didn't leave. Instead, they stayed near the gate and slowly, cautiously, Bomi joined Daeho outside. She brought more recording equipment and her tablet with the analysis program. The AI was learning fast. With more data, it began identifying patterns with more confidence. Some sequences seemed to be nouns. Others were actions. The language was built on light and sound together, creating complex meanings. Bomi pointed at her screen. Look at this. When the mother makes this pattern along with that deep rumbling sound, the AI thinks it might mean something like safe or protected. She's been using it every time she looks at the cub. She's telling it that it's safe, Daeho said. That we're not a threat. The cub seemed to understand it was the center of attention. It started showing off, jumping around playfully, its patterns flickering rapidly. The mother watched with what could only be described as patient amusement. Then something unexpected happened. Other lights appeared at the edge of the forest. Daeho tensed. More Velrathi were emerging from the trees. 4 of them, all adults, all massive. Get back inside, someone shouted from the outpost. Get them back now! But the mother Velrathi made a commanding sound, and the newcomers stopped at the tree line. They didn't approach, but they watched. Their light patterns were different. Curious, maybe, or cautious. She's showing us to her pack, Bomi breathed. She brought her family. The mother turned to Daeho and made a new pattern. This one was different from anything before. The AI struggled to process it, but finally suggested a meaning. Follow or come. She wants us to follow her, Daeho said. Absolutely not, Commander Lee's voice crackled over the radio. You've pushed your luck far enough. Get back inside the perimeter now. But Daeho looked at the mother Velrathi and he understood. This was important. She was offering to show them something. To share something. Commander, I think we need to see what she wants to show us, Daeho said into his radio. If you leave the safety of the outpost. I can't protect you, Commander Lee said. I know, Daeho replied. But I'm going anyway. He looked at Bomi. You don't have to come. Bomi smiled nervously. Are you kidding? I'm the one recording this for history. Let's go. They followed the mother Velrathi into the forest with the cub bouncing excitedly between them. The other adult Velrathi watched but didn't interfere. Behind them, Deho could hear shouting from the outpost, but he didn't look back. The purple forest was darker than Deho expected. Strange plants grew everywhere, their leaves glowing softly in the twilight. The mother moved carefully, checking often to make sure the two humans could keep up. After 15 minutes of walking, they reached a clearing. Deho stopped, his breath catching in his throat. The clearing was filled with structures, not natural formations but built structures. They were made from the same crystalline material as the Velrathi's bone ridges, grown and shaped into homes. Dozens of them creating a village. My God, Bomi whispered. They're not just intelligent. They have a civilization. Young Velrathi cubs played between the structures. Adult ones tended to what looked like gardens of bioluminescent plants. In the center of the village was a large structure covered in light patterns that moved and changed like writing. The mother led them to a specific structure and stopped. She made a complex series of sounds and lights. The cub responded, adding its own patterns. Then the mother stepped aside, gesturing with her head toward the structure's entrance. She wanted them to go inside. Deho and Bomi exchanged glances. They'd come this far. They entered the structure, ducking through the entrance. Inside, the walls glowed softly, providing light. And there, covering every surface, were more light patterns. But these ones didn't move. They were fixed, permanent. It's writing, Bomi said, her voice filled with awe. These are records, history. This is their library or archive. She started recording everything, her hands shaking with excitement. Deho looked at the patterns, wishing he could read them. How much knowledge was here? How long had the Velrathi been creating art and keeping records? Then he noticed something that made his blood run cold. In one section of the wall there were images, crude but clear pictures carved into the crystal. They showed Velrathi, but also something else. Rectangular shapes, buildings, and small figures that looked disturbingly like humans in mining equipment. He called Bomi over. She studied the images, her face growing pale. This shows the mining operation, she said. And look, these patterns here repeat the same sequence over and over. The AI identified this pattern earlier. It means sacred or ancestor. Deho felt sick. The mining site. What are we digging up? Bomi pulled up the geological surveys on her tablet. She compared the location marked in the Velrathi images with the human maps. Her hands started shaking. The main mining shaft, she said quietly. We've been digging right into their burial grounds. For 3 years we've been excavating their ancestors and calling it ore. The mother Velrathi had followed them inside. She made a sound, low and sad. Her light pattern showed a color Deho hadn't seen before. Deep red mixed with dark blue. Even without translation, the meaning was clear. Grief, anger, pain. We didn't know, Deho said, turning to her. I swear we didn't know. The mother looked at him for a long moment. Then her patterns changed again. The AI on Bomi's tablet struggled, then provided a translation that made Deho's heart ache. Your young one showed kindness when he did not have to. We judge you by this. They've been watching us, Bomi said, since we arrived. They knew we were intelligent but wanted to see what kind of beings we were. The cub getting trapped, Deho helping it, that was the test. And if I hadn't helped? Deho asked quietly. The mother's pattern shifted to something sharp and decisive. The meaning was clear even without translation. War. They returned to the outpost as the night grew deeper. The mother and cub escorted them back to the gate. Before they parted, the mother made one more pattern sequence. The AI translated it as something like, tomorrow, talk, decide. Back inside, Deho and Bomi found Commander Lee waiting with the entire outpost crew. When they explained what they'd found, the room exploded in noise. We've been mining their graveyard? Taesung looked horrified. No wonder they've been territorial. We're literally digging up their dead. This changes everything, Commander Lee said. We need to contact Director Park immediately. He already knows what his response will be, Jinwoo said grimly. He's sending that security team to eliminate the evidence. That includes the Velrathi village. We can't let that happen, Bomi said fiercely. We have proof now. Real communication. A civilization. If we release this data to the Interstellar Council, they'll have to intervene. And condemn everyone at this outpost, Jinwoo argued. The company will blame us for the discovery. We'll all lose our jobs, maybe face criminal charges for operating illegally on ASAP. The security room stayed silent for a long moment after Deho spoke. Talk to them. The idea seemed impossible. These were creatures everyone had thought were simple predators, dangerous animals to be avoided or killed. But now everything was different. Commander Lee stared at Deho with hard eyes. You want to talk to them with what? We don't speak their language. We don't know anything about them except they can kill us easily. But they haven't, Bomi said, stepping forward. Look at them. The mother brought food as a gift. The cub is clearly excited and unafraid. If they wanted to attack, they would have done it already. Or they're waiting for us to lower our guard, said one of the security officers, a man named Jin Wu. His hand rested on his weapon. I say we scare them off with warning shots. No, Deho said firmly. If we shoot, even warning shots will destroy any chance of peaceful contact. The mother is right there with her child. She'll defend it. Commander Lee rubbed her temples. She looked tired and stressed. This is beyond my authority. I'm contacting the colonial administrator. Until I hear back, nobody goes near that fence. The sonic barriers stay up. Security maintains position. Understood? Everyone nodded. But Deho could see people were divided. Some looked scared. Others looked curious. A few, like Tai Sung, just looked confused. The commander turned to Deho. You and Dr. Choi, you're our xenobiology experts. Start analyzing those light patterns. If there's even a chance they're trying to communicate, I want to know what they're saying. Bomi nodded eagerly. I'll get my equipment from the lab. We can record the patterns and run them through the analysis software. As people began to leave the security room, Tae-sung grabbed Deho's arm. I can't believe this is happening, he whispered. 3 days ago, you fed a lost cub, and now we might be making first contact with an intelligent species. I didn't know this would happen, Deho said. I just couldn't let it die. That's what scares me, Tae-sung replied. You did the right thing, and it might get us all killed. Or it might change everything. I don't know which is more frightening. Deho and Bomi spent the next 2 hours in the laboratory, setting up equipment to record and analyze the Velrathi's light patterns. They positioned cameras at different angles, capturing every flicker and pulse from the two creatures still waiting patiently outside the gate. Bomi pulled up the recordings on her computer. Look at this, she said, pointing at the screen. The adult's patterns repeat in cycles, see? Every 45 seconds, the same sequence. That's not random biological activity. That's deliberate. Deho leaned closer. Can we translate it? Maybe. The AI language program might find patterns. Bomi's fingers flew over the keyboard. It's designed to look for syntax and structure in unknown languages. Usually we use it for analyzing corporate communications from non-Earth colonies, but the principles should be the same. The program ran for 20 minutes, processing the light patterns. Finally, results appeared on the screen. Bomi's eyes went wide. Deho, look at this. The AI found repeating structures. Subject, verb, object patterns, modifiers. This is language. Actual language. Deho felt his heart race. Can we understand what they're saying? Not yet. We need more data. But look at these 3 patterns that keep repeating. She highlighted them on the screen. Based on context and frequency, the AI thinks this first one might mean something like thanks or gratitude. This second one appears when the cub makes sounds. So maybe it means child or young one. And this third one, the AI can't translate yet, but it appears in connection with the cub looking at our outpost. They're thanking us, Deho said softly. The mother is thanking me for saving her child. It looks that way, Bomi agreed. But we need to be careful. We're making guesses based on limited information. A message came through on the intercom. Commander Lee's voice. All senior staff to the conference room. Now. When Deho and Bomi entered the conference room, they found Commander Lee sitting at the head of the table. Her face was pale. On the screen behind her was a man in an expensive suit. Deho recognized him from company broadcasts. Director Park Sang-ho, the regional administrator for Daesung Corporation. Explain to me, Director Park said coldly, how we have a situation where intelligent aliens are sitting outside our most profitable mining facility. Commander Lee explained everything. Deho's rescue of the cub, the mother's arrival with a gift, Bomi's analysis of the light patterns. Through it all, Director Park's expression grew darker. When she finished, Director Park was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Do you understand what this means? If the Velrathi are truly sapient beings, this colony is operating illegally. Interstellar law is very clear. We cannot mine on worlds inhabited by intelligent species without their explicit permission. Sir, Commander Lee began, but he cut her off. This facility represents billions in corporate investment, thousands of jobs, strategic resources Earth desperately needs. And you're telling me it's all at risk because some soft-hearted biologist fed a wild animal? Deho felt anger rise in his chest, but Bomi touched his arm, warning him to stay quiet. I'm sending a specialist security team, Director Park continued. They'll arrive in 48 hours. Until then, maintain your current status. Do not, under any circumstances, attempt further contact with these creatures. And what will the security team do? Commander Lee asked carefully. Director Park's smile was cold. They'll resolve the situation permanently. There are ways to make problems disappear, Commander. Especially problems that exist on a remote planet where communications are limited. The screen went black. Director Park had ended the call. The room was silent. Then Bomi spoke, her voice shaking with anger. He's going to kill them. He's sending people to kill that mother and her cub, and probably destroy all our research. It's not just about them, said Jin Woo, the security officer. If word gets out that there's intelligent life here, the whole operation shuts down. The company loses everything. So we just let them murder 2 intelligent beings, Bomi demanded. That's genocide. It's survival, Jin Woo shot back. Our jobs, our colony, everything depends on this mine. I'm sorry, but 2 aliens aren't worth 43 human lives. The room erupted in argument. People took sides. Some agreed with Jin Woo. Others sided with Bomi. Commander Lee sat silently, her face unreadable. Finally, she held up her hand. Enough, everyone out except Kim and Dr. Choi. When the room emptied, Commander Lee looked at them both. You need to understand my position. I have 43 people depending on me to keep them safe and employed. The company signs my paychecks. I can't just ignore orders. But you know it's wrong, Deho said. You know killing them is murder. What I know doesn't matter, Commander Lee said. What I can prove matters. Right now, all we have is speculation. Light patterns that might be language. A gift that might just be animal behavior. It's not enough. Then we need to get more proof, Bomi said. We have 48 hours. Commander Lee looked at her. What are you suggesting? Let Deho try to communicate with them, Bomi said. Real contact. Not just observing from a distance. If we can record actual communication, real interaction, it becomes much harder for the company to cover up. Absolutely not, Commander Lee said. I'm not sending him out there to get killed. I'll go, Deho said quietly. I want to go. Both women looked at him. You understand the risk? Commander Lee asked. That mother could tear you apart in seconds. She could have done that to her cub too, Deho said. But she didn't. She brought it back here to show gratitude. I have to believe that means something. Commander Lee closed her eyes. If you die out there, the company will blame me. If you succeed and prove they're intelligent, the company will still blame me for this mess. Either way, my career is over. Then you might as well do the right thing, Bomi said gently. Commander Lee opened her eyes. Deho saw something shift in them. A decision being made. You get 1 hour. 1 attempt at contact. Dr. Choi records everything. If anything goes wrong, security pulls you out immediately. And if Director Park asks, I knew nothing about this. Understood? Deho nodded. Understood. Go get ready, Commander Lee said. And Kim? For what it's worth, I hope you're right about them. 30 minutes later, Deho stood at the main gate. He wore no armor, carried no weapons. In his hands were 3 protein bars, the same kind he'd given the cub. Bomi stood nearby with cameras recording everything. Outside the fence, the mother Velrathi watched him with her 4 golden eyes. The cub sat beside her, its patterns pulsing with what looked like excitement. Deho took a deep breath. Open the gate, he said. The sonic barrier shut off with a soft whine. The gate began to slide open. The mother Velrathi stood up. She was even more massive than Deho had realized. Her crystal ridges caught the light, making her look like she was made of diamonds and shadows. She took 1 step toward the open gate, then another. Deho's hands were shaking, but he didn't move. Behind him, he could hear people whispering, praying, holding their breath. The mother stopped just outside the gate. She lowered her huge head and looked directly at Deho. Her light patterns began to pulse in that same sequence Bomi had identified. Gratitude, Deho held out the protein bars. "Thank you for bringing your child back," he said softly. "I'm glad I could help." Deho walked back toward the main building, trying to look normal. His heart was still beating fast from what had just happened. He had just fed and bandaged a Velrathi cub, a creature that everyone at the outpost feared. If anyone found out, there would be serious trouble. The outpost's main corridor was busy with workers coming off their shifts. The smell of recycled air and synthetic food filled the space. Deho nodded at a few people but didn't stop to talk. He wanted to get back to his room and think about what had happened, but he wasn't that lucky. "Deho, wait up," it was Taesung Park, his roommate and one of the outpost's engineers. Taesung was 26, young and energetic, always full of questions. He jogged up to Deho with a smile that quickly faded. "You look weird," Taesung said, studying Deho's face. "What happened on your walk?" "Nothing," Deho said too quickly. "Just tired?" Taesung's eyes narrowed. He looked down at Deho's hands. "Why do you have blood on your gloves?" Deho's stomach dropped. He'd forgotten to clean off the blood from the cub's injury. He tried to think of a lie, but his face must have shown the truth because Taesung grabbed his arm. "Come with me," Taesung said quietly. "Now." He pulled Deho into an empty storage room and shut the door. "Tell me what you did," Deho sighed. Taesung was stubborn. He wouldn't let this go. And maybe it would be good to tell someone. Keeping secrets was hard. "I found a Velrathi cub," Deho said. "It was trapped in the waste area, hurt and starving. I freed it and gave it food." For a long moment, Taesung just stared at him. Then he exploded. "Are you insane?" he hissed, keeping his voice low but angry. "Those things are killers. What if it had attacked you? What if its mother was nearby? You could have died." "It was just a baby," Deho said calmly. "It needed help. It was a predator." Taesung ran his hands through his hair. "Deho, if Commander Lee finds out about this, you're finished. You'll be on the next transport back to Earth. They might even charge you with endangering the colony." "I know the risks," Deho said, "but I couldn't just leave it there to die." Taesung looked at him like he was crazy. "Promise me you won't do anything like that again. Please, I don't want to lose my roommate because he's too kind for his own good." Deho nodded, though he wasn't sure it was a promise he could keep. "I won't tell anyone what you did," Taesung said finally. "But you need to be more careful. This place is dangerous enough without you making friends with the wildlife." They left the storage room separately to avoid suspicion. Back in their shared quarters, Deho took a long shower and tried to relax. But his mind kept going back to the cub. Those four golden eyes, the way it had looked at him with clear intelligence, the musical trill it had made before leaving. He pulled up his computer and opened his private research files on Velrathi. Most of what humanity knew about them came from distant observations. They were apex predators, territorial and aggressive toward anything they saw as a threat. They hunted in packs. They had 6 legs for incredible speed and crystal ridges that were almost impossible to break. But nowhere in the files did it mention their intelligence level. Everyone assumed they were just smart animals. But Deho had seen something more in that cub's eyes, something that made him wonder if humans had missed something important. The next 3 days passed normally. Deho did his work, checking supplies and studying samples of local plants. He avoided the waste disposal area, and he tried not to think about the cub. He hoped it had found its family and was safe. On the 3rd evening, Deho was in the small laboratory with Bomi Choi, the outpost's medical officer. Bomi was 32, smart, and one of the few people who shared Deho's interest in alien life. She was looking at cell samples from a local plant when she noticed Deho's distracted expression. "You've been strange lately," she said. "Something on your mind?" Deho almost told her about the cub. Bomi would understand better than Taesung. But before he could speak, the alarm sirens started blaring. The sound was deafening. Red lights flashed throughout the outpost. Everyone jumped to their feet. This was the predator alert. Something big and dangerous was near the fence. All personnel to safe zones. Commander Haywan's voice crackled over the speakers. "This is not a drill. Large Velrathi at the main gate." Deho's blood went cold. He ran with Bomi toward the main security room where screens showed feeds from all the cameras. A crowd of workers was already there, staring at the monitors in shock. On the main screen, just outside the gate, stood the largest Velrathi Deho had ever seen. It was enormous, at least 3 meters tall at the shoulder. Its crystal ridges caught the floodlights and threw rainbow colors across the ground. Its fur was darker than the cub's, a deep blue-black that seemed to absorb light. The glowing patterns on its body pulsed with bright, steady light. "Why isn't it running from the sonic fence?" someone asked. "I don't know," Commander Lee said. She stood at the front of the room, her face hard. "It's just standing there. Security team, get to your positions. Prepare to use lethal force if it tries to breach the gate." Daeho pushed closer to the screens. That's when he saw it. Next to the massive adult Velrathi stood a smaller shape. A cub with a bandage on its front leg. His cub. The little one's glowing patterns were pulsing excitedly, flickering between colors. It looked directly at the camera, almost like it knew humans were watching. "There's a juvenile with it," Bomi said, standing next to Daeho. "I've never seen them come this close to the outpost before. Why would they?" Daeho's mind was racing. The cub had brought its mother. But why? Was this an attack? Revenge for something? Or was it something else? Commander Lee was talking into her radio, giving orders. "If that thing takes one step toward the fence, shoot to kill." "Understood." "Wait," Daeho heard himself say. Everyone turned to look at him. "Please wait. Don't shoot yet." Commander Lee's eyes were like ice. "And why not, Mr. Kim?" This was it. The moment where everything would fall apart. But Daeho couldn't let them kill the cub or its mother. Not without trying to understand. "Because I think they're here for a reason," Daeho said. 3 days ago I found that cub trapped in our waste disposal area. It was injured and starving. I freed it and fed it. I treated its wounds." The room went completely silent. Commander Lee's face turned red with anger. "You did what?" she said, her voice dangerously quiet. "I helped it," Daeho said simply. "It needed help." "You violated direct company policy," Commander Lee said. "You endangered this entire outpost by interfering with a dangerous predator. Do you understand how serious this is?" Before Daeho could answer, someone shouted, "Look at the screen." Everyone turned back to the monitors. The massive adult Velrathi had moved, but it hadn't attacked. Instead, it had dropped something at the gate. Something large. "Zoom in," Commander Lee ordered. The camera focused on the object. It was the body of a native herbivore, freshly killed. The meat was still warm, steam rising in the cool evening air. The adult Velrathi stepped back from the offering and sat down, watching the gate calmly. "What is it doing?" Taesung whispered. He'd come into the room and was standing near the back, looking terrified. Bomi moved closer to the screen, her eyes wide. I think it's bringing a gift." "A gift?" Commander Lee looked at her like she was insane. "These are animals, not diplomats." "Look at the patterns," Bomi said, pointing at the adult's glowing markings. "They're not random. See how they pulse in sequence? That's too organized to be just biology. That's communication." Daeho stared at the screen. Bomi was right. The adult's light patterns were complex, repeating in clear cycles, and the cub's patterns seemed to be responding, creating a conversation in light. "My God," Bomi breathed. "They're not just animals. They're intelligent, truly intelligent." The room erupted in noise. Everyone was talking at once, some scared, some excited, some angry. Commander Lee held up her hand for silence. "This doesn't change anything," she said. "They're still dangerous. We need to contact Colonial Administration and find out what to do." "That will take days," Daeho said. "What do we do right now?" "They're just sitting there. They haven't threatened us." Commander Lee looked at him with an expression he couldn't read. "You started this, Mr. Kim. What do you think we should do?" Everyone looked at Daeho. His mouth felt dry. Outside, a mother and her child waited in the darkness, trying to communicate something humans had never bothered to understand. "I think," Daeho said slowly, "we should try to talk to them." The red sun was setting over Thalros Prime when Daeho Kim started his evening walk around the outpost. He had done this same walk 100 times before. The mining colony sat on a flat piece of land, surrounded by purple forests that stretched as far as the eye could see. In the distance, strange bird-like creatures flew between the tall trees, making sounds that always reminded Daeho of broken bells. Daeho was 34 years old and had been working at Mining Outpost Gamma 7 for almost 2 years. He was the xenobiologist and supply officer, which meant he studied alien life and made sure everyone had enough food and equipment. Most people at the outpost thought his job studying aliens was useless. They were here to mine, not to look at animals. But Daeho loved it. Every new creature he found made him smile. The outpost was home to 43 humans. They lived in connected buildings made of gray metal, protected by tall fences that made a loud sound to keep dangerous animals away. The company that owned the mine, Daesung Corporation, cared about two things: getting ore from the ground and keeping workers alive. Nothing else mattered much. Daeho walked slowly, his boots crunching on the rocky ground. He carried a small tablet that showed the fence status. Everything looked normal. He was about to turn back when he heard something strange. It was a soft chirping sound like a bird in pain, but it came from near the waste disposal area, where nothing should be. He moved toward the sound carefully. The waste area was full of old equipment, broken tools, and empty chemical drums. The company was supposed to recycle everything, but they usually just piled it up and forgot about it. Daeho had complained many times, but nobody listened. The chirping grew louder. Then Daeho saw it. Caught between two pieces of twisted metal was a small creature. Daeho's heart jumped. He knew exactly what it was. A Velrathi cub. The creature was about the size of a large dog, with 6 legs and fur that seemed to shimmer between blue and silver. Its body had ridges that looked like crystal growing along its spine. Most amazing were the glowing patterns on its skin. They pulsed weakly like dying lights. Velrathi were the most dangerous predators on Thalros Prime. Adult ones were massive, fast, and deadly. The company policy was clear: if you see one, run. If it attacks, kill it. The sonic fences were built specifically to keep them away. No one had ever seen a Velrathi cub this close before. The little creature looked at Daeho with 4 golden eyes. It made the chirping sound again. It was clearly hurt and terrified. Its front leg was bleeding, caught in the sharp metal. The cub tried to pull free but only hurt itself more. Daeho knew what he should do. Walk away, call security. Let them handle it. Commander Haewon Lee, the woman who ran the outpost, would be furious if she knew he was this close to a Velrathi without reporting it. She was a tough woman in her 40s who followed every rule exactly. Safety first, she always said. But Daeho couldn't move. The cub wasn't a dangerous predator. It was a child. A hurt, scared child trapped in human garbage. He looked around. No one was nearby. The evening shift had just started, and most people were inside eating dinner. He had maybe 30 minutes before anyone came looking for him. Daeho made his decision. He stepped closer to the cub, moving very slowly. The creature watched him, its eyes wide. Its glowing patterns flickered faster, maybe with fear. Daeho held up his hands to show he wasn't holding any weapons. "Hey there, little one," he said softly in Korean. "I'm going to help you, okay? Please don't bite me." He knelt down next to the trapped cub. Up close he could see how thin it was. Its ribs showed through its fur. How long had it been stuck here? Days, maybe? The injury on its leg looked infected. Daeho pulled out his multi-tool from his belt. The cub tensed, ready to fight or run, but it was too weak to do either. Daeho started cutting carefully at the metal piece that held the leg. The tool made a small whining sound. The cub whimpered but stayed still. "Good," Daeho whispered. "You're smart, aren't you? You know I'm helping." It took 5 minutes to cut through the metal. When the last piece fell away, the cub pulled its leg free. It stumbled backward away from Daeho and crouched low. For a moment, Daeho thought it would run. Instead, it just sat there looking at him. That's when Daeho noticed how badly the cub was shaking. It wasn't just fear. It was hunger. The poor thing was starving. This was even more against the rules than freeing it. But Daeho had already broken so many rules that one more didn't matter. He opened his supply bag and pulled out 2 protein bars. They were his dinner, but he could get more later. He unwrapped 1 bar and held it out to the cub. The creature sniffed the air. Its nose twitched. The glowing patterns on its body changed from dim blue to a warmer orange color. Hunger was winning over fear. The cub crept forward slowly. It snatched the protein bar from Daeho's hand and gulped it down in seconds. Then it looked up at him, clearly wanting more. Daeho smiled and offered the second bar. This time the cub ate more slowly, never taking its eyes off him. While it ate, Daeho pulled out his basic medical kit. He had bandages and antiseptic spray. The cub was focused on food, so he carefully reached for its injured leg. It flinched but didn't pull away. Daeho cleaned the wound as gently as possible and wrapped it in a bandage. "There," he said. "Much better." The cub finished eating and looked at Daeho with something that almost seemed like curiosity. Its glowing patterns had changed again, now pulsing in slow, steady waves of soft green and gold. Daeho had studied Velrathi from a distance, but no human had ever been this close to one peacefully. He had no idea what the light patterns meant, but they seemed calm. "You need to go home now. Deho told the cub. Your family is probably looking for you. He stood up slowly and backed away, giving the creature space. The cub watched him for a long moment. Then it did something unexpected. It made a soft trilling sound, completely different from the scared chirping before. The sound was almost musical. Then the cub turned and limped toward the fence line. Deho quickly opened the service gate with his security code. The cub slipped through and disappeared into the purple forest. Just before it vanished completely, it looked back at him one last time. Its glowing patterns flashed in a pattern that seemed too deliberate to be random. Then it was gone. Deho closed the gate and locked it. He stood there for a moment watching the forest. His hands were shaking slightly. What had he just done? If anyone found out, he could lose his job. He could be sent back to Earth in disgrace. But looking at the forest where the cub had vanished, Deho felt no regret. He had done the right thing. Sometimes that mattered more than rules. He turned and walked back to the outpost, hoping his secret would stay hidden in the purple shadows of an alien forest.